more central, I guess I would say. You already have this brush that's like fully committed over here. I'd rather you, you know, potentially look to, even if it's just dropping in your court, so that you can watch this and you can watch this. And it just gives you more options. If for some reason your Hydra was gonna get, if it got splatted by leader, then you can fill for them. And if your brush goes for a play up here and tries to go for that splat on the ball and they fail, then you're in position and you can just tent this way and like stuff them basically. So it's a minor thing, but when you're in overtime, it's not about necessarily getting the splats, it's about controlling the important spaces. And I feel like you're overcommitting a little bit too much on this right side. And you end up taking a fight without any of your teammates being able to help or clean up. Because this brush doesn't really want to take this fight. They just want to sit here and wait for the drop. So you're taking a 1v1 for basically no reason. Tent play, okay. This will be interesting because I especially do not play tent. I think the main thing for me as a tent is working with your teammates and putting yourself in spots where you're either working with your teammates directly or indirectly. Either they're using your tent, which is like a more direct approach, and that's kind of the, you know, running it through plat, or using it indirectly where you can like take up space and kind of distract. You know, even in this area, like you can totally get a ton of value out of tent. So I'm interested. I think I'm gonna probably learn a few things from here, but let's see how it goes. Oh. Like the early beacons. Nice play. The times where you don't have your shield, just make sure you're checking your angles. Because you're focused on this left side, which is good, but there is potential opportunities for you to get picked in these scenarios. So you did a really good job of stalling and giving your teammates enough time to do other things. And this pick on the crab is wonderful from your brush, which you enable because you're able to stay alive for as long as you do. I think all of this is wonderful. The troll glam. In this spot, there were 3 down, and then the leader is the one that ends up dropping. And you can kind of like bully the leader a little bit. One of the core things, especially in solo queue, is like you want to make everyone's life as easy as possible. And you don't want your teammate to have to like figure out a puzzle in order to score. Because even in your position, I'm not sure how my teammates are actually going to play this. I'm actually surprised and honestly kind of impressed that your teammate was able to get the consistent squid rolls that they did to get into a position to score. But it makes your life a lot harder as the vac, and it makes like your, because you're, oh, your Hydra was the one that was pushing it. Yeah, they ended up dropping. Interesting. But, oh, the Hydra is the one that went for the play. Wait, did Squeezer go back, or were they respawning? I'm so confused. I thought you had 2 in mid. Oh, they were still coming out of spawn. Oh, I expected your teammate should have jumped in this one, but neither here nor there. Again, really good idea. Like, the creativity is great, but, you know, try, like you said, yeah, I felt awkward once you did it. So if you feel those moments where like it does feel awkward, later on in like a VOD review or something, try to identify why it felt awkward and what you can do to prevent it in the future. And I think in this scenario, throwing the ball in a more predictable path that is covered in paint. But I think in general, I think you can, if you're not going to immediately push the chart, like the leader, I think you want to slow down a little bit and just get your tools ready. But minimap is not much of Not much of an issue here. Nice job stalling. But like eventually your tent's gonna be on this wall, and this leader has like an open fire on you potentially. Like I feel like they probably could have popped you there, and they just kind of missed. Because you're providing a really good distraction. Like I think this is a really good play, but the timings are just like weird. But you're making the most out of it for sure. You've distracted 3 of them, and you're still like potentially getting a pick. This squeezer was already going to get pincered, so there's a chance you could immediately get the pick on the leader, and then both of you can escape. You're postured like you want to score regardless of the outcome, and I'd rather you be a little bit more postured to help like secure the leader and give paint, because I feel like this is going to kind of end badly regardless, because there just isn't, you're not working with a lot of paint. Sheesh. Oh, yeah. There's only the like leaders coming off spawn. There's only this dually left. I'd be less concerned about picking up clams. Like I'd rather you continue to advance forward than waste time. I wouldn't go out of my way for clams, because this person can just kind of score for us. And I'd rather take stronger positions and be in spots where the rest of my team is able to actually like kind of push with me. But your whole play gets slowed down significantly because you were focused on clams and other stuff. This is the 3rd time where take this route, throw the tent here, and hope that your teammates do something by this point. And you're playing it well, but you're consistently taking these by yourself. In certain cases, Brush is able to flank behind and like, you know, clean up stuff with you, but it feels pretty dangerous. I don't love this idea. I think it's okay for the Brush to just do their thing. I love this tent, and the leader's on the other side of this tent. So I actually really like this. I think this is an opportunity where I just continue pushing, and you can see the Hydra shots behind you, so you know Hydra's in mid. They can actually push up and use this tent with you, which I think you're fine, like you're hoping for basically this entire game. Because when you jump to this brush, you jump to them before they even take that fight on the left, so there's a chance that that brush actually gets splatted in that spot, and then this whole play gets exploded. And so I'm imagining a play in this spot. I love this tent. This is like bridge down, 10 through their bridge, and you have Hydra behind you. This is like the god setup. This is exactly what I would be hoping for. And you end up like, we know that the leader is over here, and I would much rather you continue with this push and work with your Hydra to keep control of this plot. Because if you get this pick on this E-leader, if the brush ends up getting the splat on this person, they can, you know, swing around this way. Like you can throw a clam to the bridge, or they can drop and you can throw a clam. Like there's a lot of ways where you can reconnect without directly jumping to them. And you've worked really hard this entire game for this mid lane control, and I'd like for you to see this play to completion, because I think this is like the final setup that you've been hoping for. Also, you have 7 claims as well, so you know the same thing. They could be throwing claims to you. But I'd much rather hold the dominant position and figure out how we're gonna score after, because you have enough clams to make it happen. If you're there, you get this a lot more cleanly, and you're holding this strong position with your Hydra. But again, just a little bit of sloppiness with the way these scores happen. It's unfortunate. I like the immediate vacuum, but yeah, being in this type of position with the vac is effectively a death sentence. You get into these spots and you play them about as best as you can, but some of these positions that you're getting yourself into, I feel like there may be better options that you could potentially be looking for. Yeah. Again, in this position, I'm wondering if you can push with your teammate here and look for this, like look to use this angle. You do have a brush, so the brush is able to take that angle as well. So maybe you don't want to, but you know, you're kind of, again, you're stuck in mid until this bridge comes back, which just, it feels very awkward. But again, your positioning is like great. But if we had a tent going through this way, or even if you wanted to flank around, I probably would just kind of brute force it here and just, I think you can play within the tent very, very, very well. But I think you can kind of scrap with them. And it potentially gives your Hydra an opportunity to jump on the leader if the leader's forced, like watching you in their court. Just as an option. Yeah. In the spot, we're looking to play defense. I'm not sure exactly where you want to be in position to play defense in spots like this. I wonder if there's more options that you can potentially explore. Like they may be better, they may not be, but I like that you abandoned mid at this point because again, bridge is down, there's not much you can do, plus you don't have to have too much of a push. Your positioning and camera control is phenomenal. I love this. And I love that you're looking for this opportunity. And I like that you didn't try to chase this person with the ball. It's like if they push through, you're here for that option, but they didn't, they backed up, so you can't do that safely. So again, there's nothing that happens here in terms of like splats or anything, but the decision making there is really, really, really strong. I really, really, really like that. 10 fights, let's go. I feel really uncomfortable against a leader in pushing through this glass. Against better leaders in this time frame, you're probably getting splatted. Good movement. Are we gonna get a big temp play? Let's see, let's see. Where's the vac shot go? That's a very responsible vac shot. And your Hydra was able to hold down the... Oh. Hydra's holding down the play. Whew. In these types of spots, it's more important for you to just stay alive. And like taking this fight, your team is in positions to, you know, if this person drops this way, they're gonna get splatted. You know, like you have this person in position. And you also have a Hydra on the plot. So if anything, once you start having to turn this corner, I would not commit to this play. You don't get punished here, but there might be spots where you do get punished. So like there is a potential world that someone sharks through this way, paths around your Hydra, and gets that score in. Because both of you are committing to this play. Over here. Smiley face. And then you get the pick. I'm cool with you going top mid here. I like this. Once that pick happens, once this person starts committing here, I'm probably gonna position myself a little bit more central, I guess I would say. You already have this brush that's like fully committed over here. I'd rather you, you know, potentially look to, even if it's just dropping in your court so that you can watch this and you can watch this. And it just gives you more options. If for some reason your Hydra was gonna get, if it got splatted by leader, then you can fill for them. And if your brush goes for a play up here and tries to go for that splat on the ball and they fail, then you're in position and you can just tent this way and like stuff them basically. So it's a minor thing, but when you're in overtime, it's not about necessarily getting the splats, it's about controlling the important spaces. And I feel like you're overcommitting a little bit too much on this right side. And you end up taking a fight without any of your teammates being able to help or clean up. Because this brush doesn't really want to take this fight. They just want to sit here and wait for the drop. So you're taking a 1v1 for basically no reason. But overall, I love this 10th gameplay. This is awesome. I think you take a lot of solo fights. I think you want to avoid taking those solo fights whenever possible. There were certain scenarios in this game where you were holding mid and you were looking to push their plat, and realistically, you should have someone with you, but they're just not there. So it's unfortunate that they weren't with you. And I think you were actually trying to play around your teammates, but you ended up getting into these scenarios where you find yourself pushing and you don't have the reassurance that your teammates are actually with you. So you end up in these weird like 1v2s, 1v3s, where as a tent, it can actually be a liability. The other thing is like creativity. I think it may help you to find ways to be more creative with your positioning. And I think like specifically like your routing, I think would help a lot. Because this entire game, you have a very linear game plan. You know, throw tent in this area, follow tent through mid, and then like sit in this spot and hope that like your teammates make a play, or you position here because you need to escape the leader, and then you take like some sort of fight, and you're kind of like hoping that your teammates, which you give your teammates a lot of time, like you stall. This goes back to like the one trick and your strength as a 10 player is that you're able to like stall the enemy for a long time. So your teammates, you should be able to expect that your teammates are able to help you in these scenarios. But you know, we only have Wahoo as like an example. So it would be interesting to see some of your other, like you playing on other maps. But, you know, even on Wahoo, I think there's scenarios where you could potentially look to play like carousel a little bit more, play this lane, and come from some different angles. But I think you were a little bit predictable with the way that you play, which you're not really going to get punished. I mean, even at a lot of levels, you're not really going to get punished for it, but you're playing a little bit extra solo as a tent, which you're taking risks that I like. But if you're constantly going in from the same spot, I think the enemy team can overload mid when you start pushing it, and they can actually have a better time like dealing with you. Get a lot more bombs to throw in and everything. But I don't know. Overall, though, this was very solid. From this footage alone, it's hard to tell if this is a problem, but make sure that you're kind of asking yourself and analyzing this as you continue playing games on other maps. Yeah, we can also look at stats. 10-6, pretty respectable.